Join our free WhatsApp group to get daily latest updates. It's totally free.
Part 1.
You'll hear a student speak with a library in charge about ordering some books. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
City Library, Janet speaking. How can I help you?
Hi, is that the City Library?
Yes, it is.
I wanted to know the procedure for placing an order for some books.
Do you have an account with us?
No, I don't. Is an account necessary to purchase books from the library?
No, it isn't. But you get a 16% discount on the retail price of the books if you have an account with us.
Oh, is that so? 18% sounds like a great discount.
Not 18%, I said 16. You get a 16% discount on your order.
Right, 16%. I think I would like to open an account in that case. Can you tell me how to go about doing so?
Sure, you just need to come down to the library and fill a simple form. We would require an ID proof and an address proof, along with a stamp-size photograph of yours.
Okay, that sounds all right. Can I fill this form when I come to pick up the books? I stay on the outskirts of the city, and travelling to and from the library will require at least half a day.
Sure, you can fill up the account opening form when you come to pick up the books. Which books would you like to order?
I need 3.
I'm sorry, before I take your order, can I please have your name?
Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at question 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10. It's Sean.
So, that is S-H-A-W.
No, not W. It is a U. S-H-A-U-N.
OK, got it. And your surname, please?
Vaughan. That's V-A-U-G-H-N.
Thank you for providing your name. Can you tell me which books you're looking for?
For starters, I'm just looking at purchasing one book, A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Do you have it with you?
Let me check. You said the name of the author was Stephen Levitt?
No, not Levitt. It's Hawking. Stephen Hawking.
You're in luck. A copy of the book is available with us, and this is the last copy. So would you like us to reserve it for you?
Yes, please. That would be great.
OK, I've reserved the book for you. Please visit our library within 48 hours and complete all the account opening formalities. The price of the book is $30. After your 16% discount, it will cost you $25.20.
Sure, I'll do that. I can pay you by credit card, right?
Yes, you can, but we charge a 2.25% processing fee on card payments.
A 2.5% processing fee is too high.
I said 2.25%, not 2.5%.
Got it, but it's still pretty high. I think I'll pay by cash in that case.
Sure, you can pay by cash.
I'll drop in tomorrow around 11:30 a.m. and complete all the formalities. May I know who I'm speaking with?
It's Janet. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day.
Thanks. You too.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You will hear a tour guide describe the Yellowstone National Park. First, you have time to look at questions 11 to 13. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 13. Yellowstone National Park is the oldest, one of the largest, and probably the best known national park in the United States. It is situated principally in northwestern Wyoming and partly in southern Montana and eastern Idaho, and includes the greatest concentration of hydrothermal features in the world. The park was established by the U.S. Congress on March 1, 1872, as the country's and the world's first national park. It was designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in 1976 and a World Heritage Site in 1978. The park, which forms a square-like rectangle with an irregular eastern side, is 63 miles from north to south and 54 miles from east to west at its widest point, and covers an area of 3,472 square miles. The John D. Rockefeller Jr. Memorial Parkway, an 80-mile scenic roadway that was established in 1972, connects Yellowstone with Grand Teton National Park to the south. Yellowstone is situated in a region that has been volcanically and seismically active for tens of millions of years. Tectonic movement of the North American plate has thinned Earth's crust in the area, forming a hot spot. About 2.1 million years ago, a subsurface magma dome that had been building up in the Yellowstone area blew up in one of the world's most cataclysmic volcanic eruptions, which was followed by several other smaller eruptions. Each of those eruptions caused the magma dome that had built up to collapse as its contents were released, leaving an enormous caldera. The present-day Yellowstone caldera, the product of the third eruption, is a roughly oval-shaped basin some 30 to 45 miles that occupies the west-central portion of the national park and includes the northern two-thirds of Yellowstone Lake. Two resurgent magma domes, one just north of and the other just west of Yellowstone Lake, have been forming in the caldera. Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 14 to 17. Now listen and answer questions 14 to 17. The Yellowstone region is also extremely active seismically. A network of faults associated with the region's volcanic history underlies the park's surface, and the region experiences hundreds of small earthquakes each year. The great majority of those quakes are of magnitude 2.0 or less, and are not felt by people in the area, but occasionally a more powerful trembler will strike in the region and have effects in the park. One such event, a deadly quake that struck in 1959 in southern Montana, just outside the northwestern corner of the park, affected a number of hydrothermal features in Yellowstone, including its iconic geyser, Old Faithful. Yellowstone's relief is the result of tectonic activity combined with the erosional actions of ice and water. Most of the park consists of broad volcanic plateaus with an average elevation of about 7,875 feet. 3 mountain ranges, each aligned roughly north to south, protrude into the park. The Gallatin Range in the northwest, the Absaroka Range in the east, and the northern extremity of the Teton Range along the park's southwestern boundary. The tallest mountains in the park are in the Absarokas, where many summits exceed elevations of 10,000 feet. The range's Eagle Peak on the park's boundary in the southeast is the high point, reaching 11,358 feet. Aside from its rugged mountains and spectacular deep glacier-carved valleys, the park has unusual geologic features, including fossil forests, eroded basaltic lava flows, a black obsidian or volcanic glass mountain, and odd erosional forms. Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 18 to 20. Yellowstone is also known for its many scenic lakes and rivers. The park's largest body of water is Yellowstone Lake, which, having a surface area of 132 square miles and lying at an elevation of 7,730 feet, is the highest mountain lake of its size in North America. The West Thumb area, a knob-like protrusion of the lake on its west side, was formed by a relatively small eruption in the caldera about 150,000 years ago. The next largest lake, Shoshone Lake, lies in the caldera southwest of Yellowstone Lake. The park's most extensive drainage system is that of the Yellowstone River, which enters at the southeast corner, flows generally northward, and exits near the northwest corner of the park. The river's Yellowstone Falls, located in the north-central part of the park, descend in 2 majestic cascades. The Upper Falls, with a drop of 114 feet, and the Lower Falls, with a drop of 308 feet. The falls constitute the western end of the spectacular Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. There, the river has cut a gorge 19 miles long, between 800 and 1,200 feet deep, and up to 4,000 feet wide. The walls of the canyon, sculpted from decomposed volcanic rock, are brilliantly colored in hues of red, pink, yellow, buff, lavender, and white. Other streams of note include the Snake River, which rises and flows along the park's southern boundary before joining the Lewis River and heading south, and the Gallatin and Madison Rivers, both of which rise in and flow through the northwestern part of Yellowstone before exiting the park and eventually forming the Missouri River in southern Montana.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
You will hear a business studies student speaking to his teacher about which electives to take up in the next term. First, you have time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen and answer questions 21 to 24. May I come in, sir? Yes, come in. Oh, hello, Ben. It's good to see you again. How is your internship coming along? The internship is going well. Well, it's definitely a lot of work. I'm getting to learn a lot about how the banking industry functions. I'm sure you are. So, what brings you here today? Well, as you must know, all the students need to submit the list of electives they'll be taking up in the next term by the coming Thursday, and I'm really confused between some of the options. I was wondering if you could help me out in this matter. Sure, I'll be glad to. So, which electives have you shortlisted? Well, we need to select 3 electives. I am pretty certain about 2 of them, business law and financial accounting. It's the 3rd elective that I'm confused about. Should I take up entrepreneurship or business analytics? I see. Why don't you tell me how both of these electives fit in with your career plans? Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at question 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30. Pursuing an elective in business analytics could help me get into the big data industry. Big data is currently huge and is only going to grow even more in the future. Thus, there are lots of opportunities in this field. And what attracts you to entrepreneurship? Well, the reason is a little personal. As you know, my father is a first-generation entrepreneur who built his business from scratch. A part of me wants to follow in his footsteps and create something by myself. You will surely agree that there is no high quite like starting your own venture. And there is no low such as having to shut down your business. Jokes apart, do you have any specific business idea in mind that you would like to pursue? Or any business plan? No, I'm afraid I don't. Then I suggest you take up the business analytics elective for now. In any case, the knowledge of analytics will also be useful to you if and when you decide to start your own venture. Did you know that Professor Martin will be teaching that elective? Oh, he will be? That's settled then. My 3rd elective will certainly be business analytics now. I've been a big fan of Professor Martin's book, Analytics Across Business Frontiers, and it will be an honor to study from him. Thank you for your time, Professor. This conversation really cleared things in my head. You are welcome, Ben. In case you have any other queries in the future, you know where to find me.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear an oncologist discussing the history and treatment of cancer. First, you have time to look at questions 31 to 35. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 35. Cancer is the 2nd leading cause of death in the world after cardiovascular diseases. Half of men and 1/3 of women in the United States will develop cancer during their lifetimes. Today, millions of cancer-afflicted people manage to extend their lives due to early identification and treatment of the disease. Cancer is not a new disease and has afflicted people throughout the world. The word cancer came from a Greek word, karkinos, to describe carcinoma tumors by a physician, Hippocrates, But he was not the first to discover this disease. Some of the earliest evidence of human bone cancer was found in mummies in ancient Egypt and in ancient manuscripts dating to about 1600 BC. The world's oldest recorded case of breast cancer hails from ancient Egypt in 1500 BC, and it was recorded that there was no treatment for the cancer, only palliative treatment. According to inscriptions, surface tumours were surgically removed in a similar manner as they are removed today. Cancer develops when normal cells in a particular part of the body begin to grow out of control. There are different types of cancers. All types of cancer cells continue to grow, divide and redivide instead of dying, and form new abnormal cells. Some types of cancer cells often travel to other parts of the body through blood circulation or lymph vessels, also known as metastasis, where they begin to grow. However, when a breast cancer cell spreads to liver through blood circulation, the cancer is still called as breast cancer, not a liver cancer. Generally, cancer cells develop from normal cells due to damage of DNA. Most of the times, when the DNA gets damaged, the body is able to repair it. Unfortunately, in cancer cells, damaged DNA is not repaired. People can also inherit damaged DNA from parents, which accounts for inherited cancers. Many times, though, a person's DNA becomes damaged by exposure to something in the environment, like smoking. Cancer generally forms as a solid tumour. Some cancers, like leukemia or blood cancer, do not form tumours. Instead, leukemia cells involve the blood and blood-forming organs, and circulate through other tissues where they grow. Not all tumours are cancerous. Some tumours are benign or non-cancerous. Benign tumours do not grow and are not life-threatening. Different types of cancer cells can behave differently. The risk of developing many types of cancers can be reduced by changes in lifestyle, by quitting smoking, and eating low-fat diet. If cancer is identified in its early stage, it is easy to treat, and an individual may have better chances of survival. Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 36 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 36 to 40. Ancient surgeons knew that cancer would usually come back after it was removed by surgery. Many people even today consider that many types of cancers are incurable and may delay to consult a doctor in early stages of the disease. After anesthesia was invented in 1846, surgeons Billroth, Handley, and Halsted led cancer operations by removing entire tumour together with lymph nodes. Later, Paget, a surgeon, reported that cancer cells had spread from primary tumour to other places through the bloodstream. Understanding the mechanism of cancer spreading became a key element in recognizing the limitations of cancer surgery. In the beginning of 1970s, progress in ultrasound, CT scans, MRI scans, and PET scans had replaced most exploratory operations. Using miniature video cameras and endoscopy, surgeons can now remove colon, esophagus, and bladder tumours through tubes. Recently, less invasive ways of destroying tumours without removing them are being studied, including liquid nitrogen spray to freeze and kill cancer cells, which is also known as cryosurgery. Lasers also can be used to cut the tumour tissue of cervix, larynx, liver, rectum, skin, and other organs. In 1896, Röntgen discovered X-ray, and 3 years later, radiation was used for cancer diagnosis and treatment. In the early 20th century, researchers discovered that radiation could cause cancer, as well as cure it. Now, several radiation therapies are being used. These include conformal proton beam therapy, in which a proton beam is used for killing tumor cells instead of X-rays. Stereotactic surgery and stereotactic therapy, in which a gamma knife is used to deliver and treat common brain tumor. And intraoperative radiation therapy, in which cancer is removed surgically, followed by radiation to the adjacent tissues. The growth in knowledge of cancer biology has led to remarkable progress in cancer's early detection, treatment, and prevention in recent years. Cancer research is currently advancing on several fronts. One of these is anti-angiogenic chemotherapy. Recently, in many clinical trials, angioinhibitors have been used in combination with conventional chemotherapy. Clinical trials generally combine very low dose of chemotherapy followed by angioinhibitor therapy. Combination of angioinhibitors will need to be tested vigorously in the future, as single angioinhibitors are approved for use of cancer. For example, it is very important to know whether bisphosphonates are synergistic with certain natural angioinhibitors such as angiostatin, endostatin, thrombospondin, arrestin, canstatin, tumstatin, etc. Preventive angioinhibitory therapy may also be possible in the future, because angioinhibitory therapy is generally less toxic and less susceptible to induction of acquired drug resistance. Recently, some reports suggested that some foods have angioinhibitory substances. It is also better to test food that has high levels of natural angioinhibitors for prevention of cancer.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.